So here we are on the crux of the second decade of the 21st century. And I've just discovered that in this day and age, fax fights are a thing. I didn't even realize fax machines were still a thing. So I wanted to give you an update on my further adventures of trying to get a prescription to treat my ADHD, something I like to call Quest for the Meds 2020. So today I called my general practitioner to follow up with them and to see if they had called my insurance company to get started on the process of my pre-authorization for my prescription. For those of you who may not be familiar with how healthcare works here in America, here's how the process generally goes. When you have a medical problem, you go to see some sort of a healthcare professional. They will attempt to diagnose you, and if they need to, they may perform tests, and these tests might be conducted by other professionals. Then, when the test results come back, the medical professionals who are working on your case go over the results, their own observations, and then they come up with a diagnosis and a method of treatment, which can, in many cases, involve writing a prescription for medication. Now, for people who have very poor insurance, or in some cases have no insurance at all, that's pretty much the end of their journey, because most likely they're not going to be able to afford their medication. But if you do have insurance, it may very well cover the cost of your medication, with perhaps you having to pay a small deductible. But that's only if the insurance company deems your medication to be necessary. Yes, you heard me correctly. After doctors and other medical professionals have examined you, have diagnosed you, have come up with a course of treatment, using all their expertise, their knowledge, their schooling, and their experience, it's then and only then that an insurance company will determine whether or not you really do need that treatment. And they determine that not by talking to you or looking at your test results. They do it by looking at a ledger book. Now, I'm not saying that insurance companies can forbid treatment or the taking of any medication, but with the cost of hospitals and doctors and a lot of prescription medications, if an insurance company isn't willing to pay for it, they might as well say you can't have it. And in my situation, the problems are exacerbated because the medication that I need is a controlled substance, and therefore it requires pre-approval from my insurance company. And before my insurance company will authorize this pre-approval, they are requiring that my doctor prove to them that I need this medicine. Which is why I called my general practitioner to see how far along on the process they were. What they told me was they had called the insurance company, who asked them to fax some documents to them, which they did. The insurance company then faxed them back some other documents that they wanted them to fill out, which they did and faxed back. Which to those documents, the insurance companies faxed them some more documents to fill out, which again, my doctor has filled out and faxed back. So basically what my doctor's office told me is that they're in a bit of a holding pattern right now, because they're waiting to see if their fax machine spits out any more documents from my insurance company. They said they were hoping that I might be able to get my prescription on Friday. It might happen tomorrow if the insurance company goes ahead and pre-approves, but they told me not to get my hopes up. The irony of this whole thing is now I'm getting a little impatient at the whole process, and I'm wondering when I'm going to be able to get my prescription. And it's for a medication that I do have a few reservations about taking in the first place. And honestly, if I got a no from my insurance company, that would still be better than the limbo that I'm stuck in right now. At least I'd be able to know that I've got to pay for the medicine myself, and I could start budgeting for it. And I could also go to the pharmacy and get my medication and start taking it. It's really easy to see why people can get really frustrated sometimes with the healthcare system in the United States. I can remember one time going to the emergency room of a local hospital. And there was an old woman there who was sitting in a wheeled gurney that the hospital had put her in, and she was on oxygen. She had gone to her doctor because she was having chest pains, and the doctor discovered she was having a heart attack and immediately sent her to the emergency room. Now, it was about mid-afternoon when I went to the emergency room, and from what she was saying, she had been there since early that morning. And she would stop any hospital personnel who was walking by to ask them when they were going to take her back so she could be seen. And they would tell her it was going to be soon, but there was a bit of a backlog, and with it being the age of coronavirus, that backlog was pretty substantial. And after a while, this old woman got so frustrated that she took the oxygen tube out of her nose, got up out of the wheeled gurney, and walked out of the emergency room and went home. And keep in mind, this is somebody who was in the middle of having a heart attack. I don't know if this woman ever eventually was able to see a doctor and get treated. I'm not even sure she survived. And so I really do appreciate everything that my doctor's office is doing right now to advocate for my health and to help me to get the treatment and the medication that I need. In doing that, they're having to deal with an insurance company that, because they're a business, are looking at how they can best fulfill the contractual obligations they have to me, but also spend the least amount of money toward my health care. Now, it may sound like that what I'm doing right now is advocating for universal health care. And I'm not sure that's exactly what I'm doing, because it's a complicated balancing act of getting everybody the medical treatment that they need, but also being able to generate enough revenue to pay for it all. I guess what I am saying right now is I'm just getting a little frustrated, a little impatient, and basically I just want my medicine.